My mom was standing in the middle of my aunt's living room, holding a printed out screenshot of my rejection letter from UCLA, reading it out loud to 14 members of my extended family like it was a toast at a wedding. Let me back up. My name is Daniel. I'm 18, and up until about 3 weeks ago, I thought I had a pretty solid relationship with my parents. Like, we weren't the type of family that hugged every night or said, I love you before hanging up the phone, but we worked. My dad is an engineer. My mom used to teach middle school math before she started doing bookkeeping for my uncle's construction company. They're both first-generation immigrants from the Philippines. And if you know anything about Filipino families, you know that education isn't just important. It's the entire foundation of why they came here. Everything they sacrificed, every double shift, every holiday they spent working instead of with us, it all funnels into one goal. Their kids go to college, get degrees, become something. I have a younger sister, B, who's 15 and already way smarter than me, and honestly, she handles the pressure better too. She just smiles and nods and gets her straight A's, and nobody ever has to worry. Me, I'm a solid student, not incredible, not failing. I pull mostly B's with the occasional A when I actually lock in, and I thought that was fine. My SAT scores were decent. My extracurriculars were real. I did robotics club, part-time job at Jollibee, and I volunteered at the library on weekends because my counselor said it would look good. I applied to 7 schools. My top 3 were UCLA, UC San Diego, and Cal Poly. My safety schools were Sacramento State, San Jose State, and a couple of CSUs I honestly didn't care about. I thought my list was realistic. My parents thought my list was a starting point. Here's the thing about my family that you need to understand. My parents didn't just want me to go to college, they had already decided where I was going before I even filled out the Common App. My dad told everyone at Thanksgiving the year before that I was headed to UCLA, God willing. Not as a hope, as a fact. My tita would ask how school was going, and my mom would say, oh, he's working so hard, he's going to get into a really good school. And then she'd list the UCs like she was reading a menu at a restaurant. It wasn't malicious. I genuinely believed that. They weren't trying to set me up to fail. They just had this absolute, unshakable faith that hard work equals results, because in their experience, it did. My dad got his degree here while working full-time. My mom passed her teaching credential on the first try while pregnant with me. In their minds, if you put in the hours, the universe rewards you. They never considered the possibility that I might do everything right and still not get in. And honestly, I didn't push back. That's on me. When my dad would brag about me at family parties, I'd just sit there and eat my lumpia and let it happen. When my mom told her coworkers I was applying to UCLA, I didn't correct her and say, hey, UCLA's acceptance rate is like 9%, maybe don't tell everyone. I let the narrative build because it felt good to be the kid they were proud of. I liked the way my Lola's eyes lit up when she heard UCLA. I didn't want to take that away from them or from myself. The rejection started coming in the second week of March. UCLA was first. I opened the portal on my phone in the parking lot at Jollibee, sitting in my car with the engine off, and I already knew before I finished the first sentence. After careful review, yeah, that's not how acceptances start. My chest did this weird thing where it felt hollow but heavy at the same time, like someone had scooped out my lungs and filled the space with wet cement. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes. I didn't cry. I just stared at the dashboard and thought, okay, this is real. Then UC San Diego came 2 days later. Same result. Cal Poly, waitlisted, which felt almost worse because it was hope with an asterisk. In the span of 1 week, my top 3 schools had essentially said no. I got into Sacramento State and San Jose State, and I should have been happy about that. Those are real schools with real degrees, but all I could feel was this crushing sense of having let everybody down. I didn't tell my parents. I know, that was my mistake, but I needed time. I needed to sit with it, figure out how to frame it, maybe wait for the Cal Poly waitlist to turn into something before I had the conversation. I planned to tell them that weekend. I had it mapped out in my head. I'd sit them down after dinner, show them my acceptances first, then explain the rejections, then talk about next steps. A calm, mature conversation. I just needed a few more days, but I made one critical error. I'd been checking my portals on the family desktop in the living room, and I forgot to log out of my email. My mom found it on a Thursday afternoon while I was at work. I got home from my shift around 8. The house smelled like adobo, which normally would have been comforting, but the second I walked through the door, I could feel it. That specific silence that means something has already happened, and you're the last person to know. My mom was sitting at the kitchen table with her reading glasses on, and I could see the glow of the computer screen reflecting off the lenses. My dad was standing behind her with his arms crossed, and my sister was sitting on the stairs, looking at me with this expression that I can only describe as, I'm so sorry, but also I'm glad it's not me. My mom didn't yell, that's the thing. She just looked at me and said, "Daniel, why didn't you tell us?" And her voice cracked on tell, and that was worse than any yelling could have been. I tried to explain I was going to tell them, I just needed time, I wanted to have a plan first, but my dad cut me off. He said, "You hid this from us. We are your parents. We had to find out from a computer." And he said it with this quiet disappointment that hit me like a physical thing. I started to apologize, started to explain that Sacramento State and San Jose State had accepted me, that those were good options. But my mom just shook her head and said she needed to think. They both went to their room and closed the door. I stood in the kitchen alone, and I remember looking down at my Jollibee uniform and thinking, this is the worst I have ever felt in my entire life. But that wasn't even the bad part. The bad part came 3 days later. That Sunday was my cousin Rena's birthday party at my Tita's house. The whole family was there, aunts, uncles, cousins, my Lola, even my Ninong who I see maybe twice a year. I didn't want to go. I begged my mom to let me stay home, and she gave me this look that basically said, "You're coming, and that's not our discussion." So I went, and for the first hour, everything was normal. Kids running around, Tito's arguing about basketball, food everywhere. I almost let myself relax. Then my Tita Linda, my mom's older sister, the one who has an opinion about literally everything, pulled me aside near the dessert table and said, "Anak, I heard about the schools. Don't worry, God has a plan." My stomach dropped. I looked across the room at my mom, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. She had told them. Not just Tita Linda, everyone. I found out over the next 45 minutes, in the most excruciating way possible, that every single adult in that house already knew. My Tito Jun came up to me and said I should consider trade school. No shame in that. My Ninong told me about his friend's son who went to community college and turned out fine. My Lola held my face in her hands and said a prayer over me in Tagalog, right there in the middle of the party, like I'd been diagnosed with something. Every conversation was a different flavor of pity, and I had to stand there and smile and nod and say, "Thank you, Tita, and yes, Ninong," while my entire body was screaming. The worst moment, the one that still makes my chest tighten when I think about it, was when my cousin Rena's boyfriend, who I barely know, came up to me and said, "Bro, tough break on UCLA." A stranger, a literal stranger to me, knew about the most painful thing that had happened in my life. I found my mom in the kitchen and pulled her into the hallway and whispered, "Why did you tell everyone?" And she looked genuinely confused, like the question didn't even make sense to her. She said, "Their family, Daniel, they care about you. Why would I hide it?" And I said, "Because it wasn't yours to tell." And she flinched, actually flinched like I'd raised a hand to her. She said, "Everything about you is mine. I'm your mother." And I didn't know what to say to that because in her mind, that's just true. That's not even up for debate. We drove home in complete silence, and I sat in the back seat with my headphones in and nothing playing, just staring out the window, feeling like I'd been turned inside out for everybody to examine. Here's the part I didn't know until later. That Tuesday, I was helping B with her algebra, and she quietly told me something that completely rewired my brain. She said that when Mom found the emails, she didn't just tell the family at the party. She had called Tita Linda that same Thursday night, crying. Not angry crying, scared crying. B heard her through the bedroom wall. My mom was saying she didn't know what they did wrong, that she was afraid I wouldn't have a future, that she felt like she had failed me. She wasn't spreading gossip. She was calling her sister for help because she was terrified. And Tita Linda, being Tita Linda, told everyone else. My mom thought she was confiding in one person, but that's not how this family works, and she should have known that. So here's where things stand. I'm going to Sacramento State in the fall. I'm actually kind of okay with it now. They have a solid engineering program, and honestly, getting out of this house for a while might be the healthiest thing for all of us. My mom and I are talking again, but it's careful, gentle, like we're both walking on a floor we're not sure can hold our weight. I know she was hurting. I know she didn't mean to humiliate me, but I also know that I deserved the chance to tell my own story, in my own time, and that was taken from me before I was ready. And I keep going back and forth. Was I wrong for hiding the rejections in the first place? Was she wrong for telling the family? Or were we both just two people who were scared and handled it badly? I genuinely don't know. So tell me, who do you think was in the wrong here? Me for hiding it, or my mom for sharing it? Or both of us? Because I still can't figure it out.